Free Press recently posted about media coverage of young people starving in Gaza. There is a lot wrong with this article. For one thing, it questions how starvation and famine have been measured by claiming the IPC, the international body that helps monitor food insecurity and malnutrition, has quietly changed its methodology, redefining the criteria for determining a famine. But that is false. The IPC has multiple metrics for measuring malnutrition in children. One involves measuring height and weight, another involves arm circumference. Now, because arm circumference only requires a tape measure, it's far easier to obtain, especially in a place like a war zone. So in Gaza, that is what they started using because of, all of this shit happening. Here's one of its writers, the one who used to work for the Fuckhole Times, summing her work up.
So you've probably seen these photos of skeletal kids in Gaza on front pages, all over social media, even in a UNICEF ad. They've become the symbols of famine. But we decided to look into these photos and the stories behind them. And what we found is that in case after case, these kids were sick, but not just with malnutrition. They were suffering traumatic head injuries.
Their article claims all those kids were already facing grave situations because of their health, irrespective of any third-party action. But a few things. First, the traumatic head injury she mentioned was, as their article points out, caused by an Israeli shell explosion, which feels like a pretty significant third-party action. This is something that the mainstream media was ignoring. There is a key problem with that claim too, and see if you can spot it.
This is how we figured this out. Let's just take this example of Najwa Hussein Hajj, who appeared in CNN simply as suffering from severe malnutrition. We took her name, we went to Google Translate, we took the Arabic spelling of her name, put that into Google, and pulled up a lot of local clips in which her parents were talking about what was really going on. And what we learned is that she has an esophagus condition, which is something that was even reported in English media.
That is what they spent their time researching? Oh my God.
They probably had a very difficult time finding anything that they could use, so they came up with this convoluted story to suggest that there's a reason why she looks like a cancer patient.
Different and more nuanced story than the assumption that Israel wants her dead and they're starving her.
Okay, so if no other journalist bothered to do it, but it was even reported in the New York Times, that sure suggests the journalist very much did bother to do it. When it comes to the child she mentioned there, they quote from an Arabic news outlet. Here is the whole section about her from that outlet. And here's the quote the Free Press pulled, mentioning her ailments since birth, including vomiting while eating. The sentence before says her condition worsens each day without access to protein and vitamin-rich foods that are needed for her treatment. During the Israeli war on the Gaza Strip, her condition deteriorated and she developed malnutrition because the right food for her was simply unavailable.